Welcome to my board game breakdown of Lacrimosa. The story of Lacrimosa is that we are patrons helping Mozart's wife complete his final Requiem. We do that through buying opus cards and action cards called memory cards, and by traveling around Europe, the patrons tell their stories, and here are the movements that we're looking to complete and score points. So we're going to look at some of the actions that you can take and see if it's something you would like to try. So you have 9 action cards. You start out with 2 of each. You also start out with an opus card and some money. So on your turn, in the first round, you draw 4 cards. So let's say these are the first 4 cards, and we can talk through some of those actions. The first action you might want to take is a movement action. So that goes in there. You then, out of one of your hand of 4 cards, need to choose what action you won't be taking. Let's put this one under here for now. So across the bottom, you're generating resources. That cube indicates your story points here will generate resources at the end of round cleanup, which we'll have a look at as well. But starting off with this carriage, it's a movement action, which means we get to move the memory of Mozart around Europe. You can see in between each area there is a cost to move around. So here you could pay 2 to move to Vienna and take that by paying 2 of the resources. So that wheel resource is in the middle here. So these resources are going to be spent down to 0 every round. So you want to use these ones up first. Any of these round tokens, they can be kept from round to round. So by moving about, you then pay the cost. This is a royal court tile, and at the end of the game, you must have taken an action in the first and 5th movements. So here's movement 1, movement 5. That comes off the board. That's endgame scoring for the person that takes it. They can bank that, and hopefully they'll have achieved it by the end. These smaller tiles are city tiles, and once you have paid the cost, it comes out of the game to be maybe shuffled back in at a later date. Once the round has completed, if a city tile or a royal court tile hasn't been taken, actually turn over for a better version, as you can see by the gilded edge around the tile. So the car is a travel action. They've all got some fantastic bonuses. This one, for example, is take another one of these actions. This is generate some tokens, which can also be used for money. This one's to improve your income. So there's definitely a strategy behind moving around Europe. What action can we look at next? Okay, so we have got a purchase memory card. So that's the action we're taking. We must discard a card at the bottom of each turn. So that is increasing what resources we're going to get at the end of the round. So this action here lines up with a very faint hand action. You can see where the card and the hand meet. So that's classed as an opus. This is a chamber music. There's opera music, religious music, and conducting. So these cards here, and you start with one as well, are able to be used via a different action, which looks like this one here, when you're performing the opus or commissioning or selling the rights. So if we were to take that card now, that goes into a tableau. You can build up a tableau of cards, and we'll come back to how the action, how to activate those. So this is buying an opus card. Over here, if we were to take this action here, this, and then we have to put one in the bottom to complete the action for our turns. There's only 4 actions for each round, and there's 5 rounds. So what that does there, if you can see, the candle lines up here. So these give you improved actions. So instead of it just being a candle action, buying a memory card, it now gives you a candle plus a resource plus 2 money, and throughout the deck those actions increase. So you could have a double movement, you could have, there you go. So there's a travel and a performance action with 2. So the deck gets better and you'll cycle through a good variety of cards. Now, why do you want these? So what happens with this? Let's say we've bought this one because it's better than that one. So this one here we've just purchased. This one comes out of the game. That's gone, and you're building up a better set of 9 cards. So it's actually going to improve my return at the end of the round. So that's how we buy memory cards, opus cards. That's how we travel around the board. There we go. So we want to look at how do we take part in the movement? How do we score? So there is this cross symbol, which relates to the movements on the board. There are 5 different movements. Taking that action there, and we'll put one of these at the bottom here. There we go. So having taken that action, we now have to decide what instrument and which composer we want to support. Now these have all got some interesting benefits. Definitely helps build your engine. So buying this Stadler composer, at the end of every round he'll generate a black cube, and that will generate a white cube. This one here is spend an income to get 4 points. Over here is take a double movement action or a double opus action. So there are some really good cards out there. So as we played that action there, we come to our sideboard and we might say, okay, so we want to take a violin, which immediately generates this benefit. We then place that on any of the violins that we're interested in. Let's say we come into movement 2 because we're interested in this card. By playing a single quaver, it supports Stadler, and we can take that top card. Or if we were to put that as a 2 quaver, we would be supporting Submaya, and we take the bottom card. And there are some good strategies around these cards. This improves your point return on prayer cards or religious cards. And there you have concerts. So there's all sorts of ways of which we can fill this board with our own tokens, but also here are other players' tokens. So let's grab a few of these and I'll show you how scoring works over here. So if that was the end of the game for the second movement, you'll see that the single quavers have a majority in the second movement, and the single quavers will take 4 points each, and the lowly 2 quavers will get 2 points. If it's a tie between quavers, then everyone scores the lowest value. In this case, it would be the 2. And you're doing that across the board. Each region has got a different set of results. And it's quite interesting because they all come with a different setup, and you can lock off certain instruments and certain movements for variety in the game. The cards always come out in different actions. There's a really good combination and synergy between cards. These tokens are integral. You can use them. The black ones are to pay for the costs on the cards. Obviously the wheels are for traveling and for buying the royal court tiles and the city tiles. And down here, the cost of the tiles is the white pen and ink. But I played it 2 times with 4 players each time. Everybody really enjoys the game. This is an interesting action, probably one of the most powerful. What will you do if you take that as an action instead of that movement card? That goes in there. You've now got the option to either tap a card for the benefit. Let me see if there's a better card out here. This is a good one. So with this opera card, we spend 0 to tap the card, and then it generates 3 money. And you can get actions that have got double of the performance cards. So you could tap more than 1 card. or you can, instead of tapping it, you could sell the rights. So spend one of your resources, either from the board or one of your tokens, and that increases your income each round. So getting up to 4, 5, 6 income definitely makes a big difference in the game. It's quite satisfying, and it also generates 2 points for this particular card. So all of the opus cards can be tapped or sold. There's an enormous amount of different cards, different actions, different points, different synergies. It's been a real pleasure to play. If you're into medium to heavyweight Euro games, I can definitely recommend Lacrimosa.